is like a brand in the zeitgeist.
It's true. It's
Right.
it's kind of like, well, even though we do still see Michael Jordan, but his name is just synonymous with like, for people who didn't grow up with him, they know who
Is
Michael
like
Jordan is.
a
And
brand.
yeah, like Kleenex, it's like
Exactly.
it's a tissue, but it's also it just means any brand. Puffs is a Kleenex.
Yeah, exactly. And so
Gentlemen,
like that's what he's doing. He's turning himself into that type of brand.
Hi, Victor. I'm Anthony. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing
and
all
we're
right.
live now, guys, too, on YouTube, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
Hey guys, if you're joining us on YouTube, hello out there.
Right on. Hey YouTube, how's it going?
Hey chat.
Like YouTube is a person, right?
Right.
Yeah,
That,
right.
well, that's how everyone speaks to him. Which we wouldn't be here if it weren't for them.
That's right. Connor, do you want to monitor that live?
Yeah, I'm just going to that now. So if you guys are in the chat right now, ask us a question. If you have something that you would like to know about Victor, maybe about his journey, put it in the chat. If you just want to say hello, say hello in chat.
Is nobody else hearing Bo's voice doubled?
I'm also hearing it.
Ah, just making sure I'm not crazy.
Not,
I don't know what it would be. Hold on, let me turn off my user interface and turn it back on. I redid the software. One moment.
As long as I'm not crazy, that's all I cared about.
You're not crazy, Victor.
so, Victor, I know you grew up in Minneapolis. Do you live in LA now?
I live in New York, actually.
Oh, you live in New York.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, I'm out here in the streets, everybody.
I worked in New York when I was a kid as a child actor.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I,
What
I
kind of
was
stuff did you do?
I was bi-coastal for a long time. I was in LA, in the 70s. So I did Little House on the Prairie for a long time. But, 6 months of the year we're filming that. Then half the 6 years, or half the when I was 6 years old, half the time I would spend in New York when we were shooting Sesame Street. But back then we filmed it at down near Broadway at the Tape Studios. Now it's Astoria Street at Queens, I think is where it's at now. But back then, yeah,
Amazing.
I
Those are
loved
some
New
deep
York.
cuts. Sesame Street and Little House on the Prairie. Wow. You're a
Yeah.
were you like a recurring kid on Little House on the Prairie?
We were principal extras. So if anytime they needed us kids for the school scenes or the church, or maybe Paul was getting mad at us playing in the mud, whatever the hell they needed the town's kids for, there was a whole bunch of us, and so we did a million episodes. um
Amazing. That's awesome.
yeah, it was fun. It was great fun. Back then, I often say if there was a cereal in the 70s and 80s, I ate it. I was like Mikey.
I think I've asked you this before, Connor. Did you work with Gordon Robinson on Sesame
Mhm.
Street? Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I sure did.
that's another person I went to school with was Holly Robinson,
Oh, that's right. His daughter.
his
Yeah,
daughter.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Roscoe
yeah.
Orman and Loretta Long. They became the couple that I mostly worked with. But in the beginning, he was my original Gordon, so to speak. As us kids on the street.
Let me get a mic check from you guys. How do I sound now?
Worse.
Worse. Oh my God. I have no idea what this could be either. That's the worst part.
Is your webcam also on, and the mic that?
No,
How bizarre!
Sounds just sounds a little hollow.
Do you have headphones? You're not hearing yourself in your headphones?
No, I just sound, I only hear myself through the headphones, so it's not.
Yeah, it sounds like two feeds at the same time.
Yeah.
And
Tap your headphones. Is your headphone mic on? Like or is that a mic on your right?
no, I just have my ear monitors in.
Oh,
Um,
okay. So the
so and
white
then my
cord is not that doesn't have a mic on it?
nope. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there somebody that has maybe a YouTube live window open that is also playing the audio? That might be
No, I have
okay.
Yeah.
YouTube up and it is muted because otherwise I'd hear double in my
Yeah.
Oh,
headphones.
could it
So
be my okay? Now, is it better now?
Hello, hello.
nope, still there.
Okay,
Oh,
well, here's what you should one thing you should do.
Yeah.
Somebody check the YouTube feed and see if it's actually going live like that.
All right.
Okay, so I'm gonna take these headphones off and I'm gonna listen to YouTube Live. So hold on.
Okay, then as soon as your headphones are off, let us know, and then Bo's gonna talk.
Yep. Checking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check. Hey Connor, how you doing?
Okay,
Sleep.
yeah, it's also on the feed as well.
Got it. Okay, so then Bo, here's what you're gonna do.
Yes, sir.
Your current mic,
Yep.
your current your mic that's in front of you, tap it. Let me hear you. Let me see you tap it. I don't hear it at all. You're tapping it and we're hearing nothing, by the way.
Okay,
So that may mean that you're going through the wrong mic.
okay.
So is it Zoom that you're controlling?
Yeah. And
Okay,
so
then go
this
to
is,
Zoom. You know how to change the audio?
yeah, and so it's same as the system. So that's all set, right?
Change it from same as the system. Choose your mic
Yep.
in Zoom.
And
Yeah, what are the options that it's showing for your audio?
and it does show that I'm using the universal audio.
But we're not. Remember a few weeks ago when you were clapping, I couldn't hear that.
Okay. Oh, maybe this is.
So you want to change your
Is
audio.
that better?
It's different, but it's not better yet.
No, it's just louder
Okay.
and more distorted.
Here, Bo, do what I say, okay?
Yep.
Click on in Zoom, click on
Yep.
your microphone icon so you bring up the thing, and then
Yep.
where it says select a microphone,
Yep.
under that, read me what you have.
Same as system, machine MK3, Cal Digit Thunderbolt 3, my 4K webcam, and my universal audio. The universal audio is selected.
Okay, what is your mic plugged into? The mic that I'm seeing next to you, what is that plugged into?
Universal audio, it's an Apollo Twin X.
Okay, so your universal audio is doubling up your sound somehow. Is your universal audio, is it a is it's a it's a digital audio input? Does it have any controls other than volume?
No, just has mute.
It has mute and volume. Click the mute and let me hear that it's working. Click it and talk. Got it. Okay, unclick it.
Did you hear
Now
me?
talk. Now I can hear you. Yes. Okay, so the mic that we sing is plugged into the universal audio thing, correct? Okay.
Although maybe it's because I have a DLX mic, so let me.
You have two mics plugged in? That's probably it. Okay, now we can't hear you. Bo is at work. Okay, we still can't hear you now. Bo needs a second. He's going.
Right.
And he's gone.
It faded into the background. And there he is. Wow. So if you're tuning in on the YouTube link, just bear with us. We're having some difficulties.
Oh yeah, watch me do tech support.
Right. Thanks for holding.
That's
Victor will be
another
right
income
with you.
source for you, Victor, in tech support.
I used to be tech support.
Are you serious?
Yeah, way back in high school, college, early college. That's what I did for a living.
There's been days where I'm trying to do voiceover. I would pay you 500 grand to fix my issues.
Right. Yeah. That's the worst part about the era that I was raised, learning voiceover. Is I was living in LA and you could make as much money as fast as I could drive from studio to studio. And nowadays, I'm just in my studio at my house. And now I'm responsible for all this crap. And it's tough for me to learn all this stuff that I have to have my microphone working, that Adobe Audition needs to be open and working. And I'm just a damn actor. I mean, I'm lucky I can put gas in my friggin' car.
Check 1, 2. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Is it still doubling?
It is doubling. Do you have two mics plugged in? What's happening?
No, I literally plugged in my SM7.
Is your computer mic on?
Oh, that's an idea.
We can't hear you now, Bo, by the way.
Nope.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Thanks for holding. Victor will be right with you. If you're calling for tech support for Victor, press 1. To hear his stand-up routines, press 2. Nope, not hearing that.
We don't hear you, Bo.
Did you know we have tech support across the country in
We're
New
busy
York?
helping customers just like you.
Have you guys ever done a podcast before? I'm kidding.
No, we haven't.
Do you do a podcast?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you.
Yes. I have a couple.
Wow. We're speaking to someone
You do it on
extra special.
YouTube or what platforms?
Um uh I've I've one audio only podcast, audio mostly actually, called WikiListen, where I read Wikipedia pages.
Really? That sounds cool.
It's actually fun. We've actually had some really fun episodes. We had the creator of Qbert on, and we read the Wikipedia page for the Qbert video game, and he fact checked it while
That's
we were reading
funny.
it. Yeah, it was great.
That is pretty damn cool. Yeah.
Um, and I
Is
do that one, but that's on like Spotify, Amazon, et cetera, et cetera. All the
Right.
but it's
regular.
hard to make money on podcasts, isn't it?
Um, no, the business model is actually pretty simple. Um, it's the business model is pretty simple. The thing is to get your listenership up, like, and that's not really that hard if you've got a budget.
Yeah. But
Right,
you have
right.
to feed it.
You definitely have to feed it, but I mean, it can grow significantly. Like if you just, I mean, you don't need a lot. Like if you just start making enough, I mean, if you've got like $100 a month, you can grow a podcast.
Yeah, but the YouTube metrics seem really complicated to me.
They are metrics of any kind are.
Yeah. I don't know. So you're juggling a lot of different things.
Indeed, I am. But really, really what happened is 7 years ago, I decided to just learn everything that I possibly could about growth, marketing, business. I was in business accelerators. I was doing everything I
That
could to just
that's
learn
so
everything,
smart. That's so
everything about
smart.
like, you know, monetizing my art. And so I just
Mhm.
wanted to know what I was doing because as an artist, I really did not know what I was doing before then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What part of
That
New York do you live in, Victor?
I live in Queens.
Ah, okay. So yeah, then you're familiar with Astoria Street Studios.
Oh, I know where it is. Yeah,
Yep. It's legendary studios.
it is.
do you find New York is a tough place to live?
Um, yes, it is expensive for one, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
And then for two, yeah, New York is expensive. And for two, the pandemic turned back the clock on New York safety back to 1998.
Oh.
Because so much happened during the pandemic and a lot of people left and just stuff went crazy, and so like they just turned back the clock. I mean, it was okay safety wise in 1988, not as good as it was right before the pandemic though.
Right.
But not quite Son of Sam days though.
Exactly. Hey,
That would
I haven't been murdered yet,
that would have
thank
been when I
goodness.
was frequenting New York. You couldn't go down to Times Square as a young kid. That would not be a good idea.
Yeah, Times Square right now is not as dangerous as back then. It's still more dangerous than it was right before the pandemic,
Oh,
but
that's
it's
okay.
it's
Wow.
what?
No, I was just saying wow because I knew that it had changed, but I didn't know that it would taken a step back. So that's interesting.
Like before the pandemic, um, in certain neighborhoods like the East Village or Lower East Side, they had gotten rid of most like druggies shooting up on the street were gone. But now, now you walk down the street at night and you're like, whoa, ooh,
Oh
wow, okay, this is
my
it's back.
God. Horrible. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's
You know,
actually part of what I like about. I mean, I know that it's horrible, and I know that it's horrible, and people's lives are terrible, but it's part of what I like about New York because New York is so far-reaching. They
yeah, it is.
and every the pendulum swings very wide in New York.
Yeah, a big swath.
Did you ever live in LA though? Because you were so busy with film work?
Absolutely, I was in LA for about 7 years, and then I moved back to New York for work, and then I just stayed. I was
Very
in New
smart.
What,
York, and then LA, and
Very,
then back to New York.
very smart.
where'd you live in LA?
In LA, I started out in Koreatown, and then I moved to the Hollywood Hills. I was renting a room from some rich person. And then uh yeah, that was mostly it. That's where I lived most of the time in LA.
Yeah, because I don't know if you know our story. I grew up in Malibu, actually. My
Cool.
dad was a screenwriter, so that a lot of people uh, in the industry live in Malibu. And Connor, sorry, I'll let you tell your story.
No, I was born in New Mexico, but Disney picked me up as a voiceover when I was 6 years old. So my first gig was voiceovers for Christopher Robin for Winnie the Pooh.
Amazing.
'Cause it's so damn long ago. And yeah, Sterling Holloway, who was the voice of Winnie the Pooh, asked my grandfather, "Does your grandson do a British accent?" My grandfather, like an idiot, said, "Yes, he does." Which I could barely tie my shoes. I'm 6 years old, and we, they worked with me for 3 months to do a British accent, which was horrible. I made Dick Van Dyke sound superb, but I guess because I had Sterling's blessing. So anyway, I ended up living out there. My parents were in New Mexico, and me and a whole bunch of kids, we were in this converted condo that Mae West used to live in, and there was boys on one side, girls on the other, and that's where we lived. That's for child acting.
Oh my God, a kid farm. That's amazing.
Right? Yeah. Imagine that in L.A. Ah, who would
That's
have thought?
awesome. Oh my God.
Gentlemen,
Okay.
can you guys hear me?
Yes, and you sound fine.
Excellent. I had to switch my computer,
Oh my
so I
Oh,
gosh.
apologize.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
oh, no apology necessary. Good technical fix.
Yeah, well, technology, you gotta love it.
Right? Or not.
Yeah, or not. Should we get this ball rolling? And I actually,
Yes.
Yeah.
hold on one second, guys. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. I'm getting an echo from everything I hear. I think it's because I am on the other computer. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Kill,
worries.
kill that one.
I'll just get rid of my headphones and use the audio out of my other. Oh, how embarrassing. I've done about 160, 175 of these, and
It's,
nothing
listen,
is as
nothing to be
embarrassing.
embarrassed about. It's
No.
happens.
Any of our watchers. Yes, I'm sweating. Yeah, I'm a little anxious and probably have a shot or two after this is over.
I There's nothing more stressful than technical issues.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that.
Victor, let me tell you about my one of my first podcasts when I first started. I had I don't know if you've ever heard of Steve Burrows. He's a Hollywood film director. Did the movie Chump Change and a few other ones. But anyways, he came on and I was having a technical hiccup. And so trying to work that out with him, I had these preset pads where I could, put in sound effects or whatever. One was my intro because I hadn't quite perfected as where I'm at now. And it was queued up with the wrong sound effects. I had been dinking around and had been doing Arnold Schwarzenegger impressions and other stupid stuff. And so here I am with the professional and queuing up all of those. It was quite the interesting intro. ended up in one of our best cast ever, but embarrassing on the same.
Right? The phoenix rises out of the ashes.
That's right. All right. So, you still with me on all this, Victor?
Yes, I am. I'm I have someone who works with me who did not read an email correctly, and so they were messaging me saying, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Did you not read the email?" And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
You're right.
I
Let
was
me-
having a work blow up. I'm like, read the email. That's all.
well, it's the little things that you shouldn't sweat, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm done with that for now. Let's get this show on the mother freaking road.
10 4,
Well,
3,
well
2,
well
1.
put.
Welcome back to another episode, an exciting episode there of From Hollywood to the Heartland. Today we have a special guest who is truly a multi-talented force in the entertainment industry. From stand-up comedy to acting, writing, and directing, Victor Vernado has done it all. You've seen him in the big screen films like End of Days, along with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you've laughed at his sharp wit and comedic brilliance on stages across the country. As a writer and director, Victor has a unique and hilarious, or has worked on unique and hilarious projects that push the boundaries of storytelling, all while breaking down the barriers in Hollywood. He's also an advocate for diversity and representation, using his voice to challenge perceptions and inspire others. We're thrilled to dive into his incredible journey. So please let me welcome Victor Vernado. Victor, thanks for coming on.
Hello.
I
Good to
know
be
it's a
here.
mouthful, right? I wanted to do you justice.
That was great reading. I loved it.
My first time that I came across you was actually in Pluto Nash, and it didn't do so great in the theaters, but probably one of the cult classics these days. And I loved it. And your bit was memorable. How did you get that opportunity?
Um, I had an agent who sent me to an audition. I know it's not like great of a story, but
What? I've never heard of such
Holy
lunacy.
cow! Yeah.
The
sorry.
hell's that about?
But an interesting thing, there are a lot of interesting things about working on the Adventures of Pluto Nash, because that was my first time on in that size of a role in that large of a movie ever. And that
Hmm.
was pretty crazy for me. And then a couple of amazing things. I was in Montreal for 6 months working on that movie. Um, I was, uh, I was, I didn't realize what a big deal it is to be an actor on a movie that size. Because when you're an actor on a movie that size, the entire business machine, the whole thing is tuned to make sure that you're happy and okay to go in front of camera when they need you in front of camera.
Mhm.
So there is a whole there's a whole, I guess, society economy built around keeping the actors happy. So I, coming into that, didn't understand how much power I wielded as an actor, compared to, say, like a PA working on the movie and what they've been told and what has been beat into them about how to and not to talk to the actors. So when I was approaching the set at one point, and there was a gumball machine on the set, it was like the set was like a quarter acre, like fake city set, and there was a gumball machine, and I was trying to get a gumball out of the gumball machine, and then a PA was like, "Are you trying to get a gumball?" And I was like, "Yeah, but it's not free, and I don't have any quarters." And then I walked to the director's station, whatever, like what do they call the camp? I'm sorry, what's the name of it, of the director's camp on a set?
Oh, I
Oh,
spent
Anyway, doesn't
anyway. Yeah.
doesn't matter. So I was walking toward that area. And by the time I'd reached there, apparently the PA had got on the walkie-talkie and was like, "Can we get a quarter here for this machine?" And they somehow got the quarters, and somebody ran. So by the time I arrived to the director's area, just where what do they call Video Village? I'm so sorry. They're at Video Village. So by the time I arrived to Video Village, they had gotten gumballs, had a handful for me. And we're like, here, you wanted gumballs. Here's your gumballs. And like, and I was like, what are you doing? But I didn't know. But like, that's the way the whole machine works. Is just like they're like the actors are like gold, and so
Yeah.
Yeah. So growing up in Minneapolis, was getting an entertainment always something that you strove to do, or did you always have a love for getting in front of people?
oh yeah, I went to performing arts high school. So like I was in the science, math, and technology magnet at the high school, but then I also joined the performing arts magnet while I was in high school. Big fan of the original Fame back in the day. And then so that meant that like in high school I started, learning improv, doing theater, blah blah blah. And then immediately right after high school I was working with improv companies, and then finally that led to just me acting.
And did you go from Minneapolis to LA, or when did you leave Minneapolis?
I left Minneapolis in 1997,
Oh,
and I
okay.
moved to New York first. And I
Gotcha.
moved to New York to quote unquote make it with a friend of mine. His name is Colton Dunn. You may know him as Garrett on NBC's Superstore,
Mhm.
and also he's in the Recruit.
Hmm.
He does a bunch of stuff. He's
Yeah.
yeah, and so we moved to New York together, and then we both were like, let's go for it. And then in New York, is actually really funny. I mean, he definitely is like more established than I am as an actor. But when we started off, I started off first, like because we moved to New York, and then I immediately started getting I got like the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie and The Adventures of Pluto Nash. But one of the things that I had was I kind of like really pivoted on my career because I kind of got fed up with the idea of always being the albino in everybody's thing.
Hmm.
Is that when you pivoted towards stand-up, or?
That is when I did stand up when I came to New York initially, but that's when I pivoted more toward uh directing and producing because I wanted to
Oh,
kind of like control, you know, what
That's one of
like
the
how I was presented.
it's one of the things that I like about you is your diversification. You branched out and explored several different avenues, and you didn't put all your eggs in one basket. That's one of the themes of our show. It seems to be one of the best tools for success is that diversification. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. Uh, I think that, I mean, so let me, I guess, let me put it this way. First of all, so 7 years ago, I didn't know anything about what I was doing. I was working as a producer on the Love and Hip Hop franchise, and I was getting paid very well, and it was a good time. But the problem was that I was working for somebody else, and I was like, what am I going to do with my future? Blah, 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 blah. And so I decided to jump in and start learning about business. And then the more that I learned about business, the more that I realized that, uh, okay, so it is very possible to be extremely successful doing whatever you want as long as you just learn. Um, and diversification is one of the things, but it's not even about diversification. That's not the strongest thing. The strongest thing is learning making money as a skill. Um, when I realized that making money was a skill, like playing the piano, like you're gonna suck at playing the piano when you first start to play the piano, but you keep doing it for months, you're gonna play the piano. And so that's exactly the same way making money is. It is an absolute, just a straight up skill that you can learn. And when that was told to me, I it changed everything. It changed everything. And I was like, oh, I can make money doing anything.
Yeah. What clicked about that for you? I mean, it seems so simple and straightforward, but it's not. So,
No, it's not because I think that I think that as an artist or artist in general, like we don't think about making we don't think about making money as a skill. We think about making money as a fascist as a fascist design. We should just be able to make art in the woods. So we think about making money differently, but it's straight up just like it's a skill like sewing a shirt. Like it's something you can do as an artist and be fine about. I never thought about it like that previously. I always thought about it as something that was out of reach and you had to be a certain type of person to do it, or you had to know the ins and outs of, you know, so many different things. But when I when I break it all down, like it is just like it's a skill. And I was watching I was watching like a person on YouTube who is like a former like Harvard MBA graduate, and he's just like breaking down his MBA stuff like very simply. And then when he said making money is a skill and explained exactly why it was a skill and like broke it down like very simply, I was just like, oh, it like really blew my mind, and it just
Yeah.
changed everything.
Right.
So
That's a
when you say it's a skill, did you learn how to develop different income streams? Did you learn how to invest in real estate? What skills that did you acquire to make more money?
The core skill is that I understand how to take almost any situation and make money from it, which means that
Please teach.
I can take my situation and make money from it, which is being an artist. And so I th- I yeah, I mean, that was the core skill. Everything that you're talking about, those are things that I learned along the way. Like when I went to the business accelerator, they're all like marketing, and they're like, these are lines of income, these are gross margins, they're teaching me all that. But I like to take everything and just break it down to its most simple form. And then and breaking things down to its most simple form is a way where I can uh digest it and execute it easily.
Yeah, it's
Um,
like eating an elephant. You do it one bite at a time, one piece at a time.
exactly, exactly. What a great choice. Now,
I don't know if you're being facetious or what.
the here, so like here's an example of how I break things down for myself so that they're really simple. Okay, so one thing that is hard for people to do is to believe that they can actually be wildly successful. Like a lot of people, it's hard to like believe that you can achieve that. But then
Mhm.
I found a sentence that I can use. I can prove that you can be wildly successful right now. In one sentence, I'm going to do it for everybody here. Here it
Okay, here
is.
we are. Okay.
Here it is. Whatever you want to do, there's someone out there right now doing that same thing worse, and they're a millionaire. You can do it.
There
Yeah.
we go. Wow.
For
No,
real.
that
That's
is true.
100%. I think about that all the time.
Right?
All the time. Like whatever I'm doing, because you've always like whatever you're doing, you've seen people out there who are doing that thing worse and they're wildly successful. That
So true.
is the truth. And
So
so
Amen.
anybody can do it.
have you kind of gone more behind the scenes now? Because I mean, as we all know, making a living as an actor is very, very tough. So
Yes.
you you haven't relied solely on that, obviously.
No, I have not relied solely on that, but I have relied on building a company where I can give myself jobs as an actor.
Hmm.
Um,
Amazing.
and then making money as an actor is still like making money as an actor is still like very possible. Because the way that the world is set up right now, you could you could make yourself more famous or more hireable just by how you present yourself online.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Uh,
it gives you a jump start on everything. You're absolutely right. It's much easier than driving around Los Angeles in the 80s trying to accomplish the same damn thing.
Yeah, if you know how to, if you just know and how to do those things. So like I I have not pursued YouTube a lot. The reason I haven't pursued YouTube a lot yet is because the ramp up is slow. So like there's faster ways to make money than YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I've studied a lot about how to grow on YouTube. And that's also why I know that the ramp up is slow.
Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit.
The ramp up is slow, but it is a business model that works. Like there is a YouTube business model. If you follow that business model, you will make money. You just need to follow it.
Hmm. So let's dive into that a little bit. I think you yourself are really good at kind of creating an audience. You did that with your comedy. Uh, you know, what a lot of people don't get is how do you go about doing that? How do you develop that audience? Is there some key components that stick out to you that you can share that would give us some nuggets of insight?
I feel I feel like um I feel like if you want to create an audience, all you really need to do is uh this is so simple, but it give them something that they want. I mean, but 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 that is like the people want something that benefits them. Okay,
Mhm.
whether it is, whether it is something that makes them richer or something that makes them cooler or something that makes them happier or whatever, you've got to like figure out what is that thing that you're giving them, and then just give that to them like 1,000%. Like I do I do like in whatever work that I'm doing, I'm always like considering, okay, like what am I giving to people? And I I also believe that things that entertain me entertain other people, so I'm always just making things that I would enjoy.
Right.
So you have your own production company then, right? And what kind of projects are you doing with that?
Yes, I do. I have a production company. It is expanded, and now it's a tech and media company.
Ooh.
Not
Oh,
just a production company.
Wow.
There's so much more
So there.
to Supreme Robot.
I love
Um,
the name. Yeah.
but to let me look at this list really quick. I want to look at this and tell you exactly what we're working on, because half of it is okay. So Supreme Robot right now, I have uh a bunch of projects that are out. Here's what we're working on right now. Okay, so I have a podcast called WikiListen. It's a podcast where I read Wikipedia pages.
I love that.
It's a daily podcast. It's really fun. And we have special guests on it. Okay. And I'm a co-host of that podcast, and that podcast has an investor and makes money through ads. So far. We're going to expand, but like that's what it's doing right now. Then
Mhm.
I have an app called Magic Bookifier, which is an AI app that I wrote. It is like it's just at the beginning, but it is an AI app that does something that no other AI app does, which is that you can take any old text or conversation or whatever and throw it into the app, and it will go through that data and write you a first draft of a book. So you could take, like if you're a speaker and you have a 3 hour speech, you could just take that speech, throw it into this app, and it'll give you a first draft that then you could then take and edit to make a final draft.
Wow.
It does like the busy work for you, writing. It like goes through the data, organizes it, and then writes a draft so that you could then take it further. Then I created that for myself actually, because I was like trying to turn a podcast episode that I did into an ebook.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Are
so
you a coder, or did you get somebody to make it for you with your idea?
I am a coder, but I have a friend who's a better coder, and we work together.
Nice. I
I
like it.
I do most of the AI programming, and he did most of the coding.
Okay.
Gotcha.
wow.
His name is Omar. He's awesome. Then I have High Score Game Arcade. That is a thing that I'm promoting right now, which is I like to make video games. And so then I created a website that does a daily video game high score contest so people would play my video games. And then I went out and I found sponsors for it. And so now we're doing the first ever worldwide high score contest right now. So here's how the worldwide high score contest works. I made a game. Anybody in the world can enter and play it because you can just do it right on your phone. And every day, the high score winner gets $10, actually $9.99. And then the on October 19th, the high score winner gets $1,000. So,
Wow. Okay.
so go practice, everybody. It's free. It's free. It's sponsored. It's free. The money comes from somebody else. Let's all use the corporation's money and spread it to the world. All right.
There we go.
And
What's the website for that?
highscoregamearcade.com.
That's awesome. Again, diversity and diversification. You have it in spades, my friend. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. Those are like some of the bigger things I'm working on. I have other stuff too. I have a book called the Anti-Racism Activity Book. I have a different podcast called the Arts Academy podcast, where all I do is teach people how to do the business side of the arts.
Yeah.
That podcast actually started out of necessity because I was always a person like I hate when people kind of gatekeep information. And so I would always like tell people everything that I knew when they would ask. But then I got known as that guy, and so everybody was coming out of the woodwork. And then so eventually I was like, okay, if you want me to tell you everything, take me to dinner and I'll tell you over dinner and you pay, and I
There
will
you go.
not like skimp on the drinks. And then that got too out of hand because it was too much of that. So then I was like, okay, if I start a podcast, then I could be like, oh, listen to that episode.
There you go.
Anytime
We've heard
anybody asks me something, I can make it into an episode of a podcast and then point to that podcast.
That's smart.
Well, it's one of the reasons that we started what we do, isn't it, Connor?
It is. Yeah. We wanted to
Yeah.
put the power in the average person's hands. Anthony and I were very successful in Los Angeles, but I've been more successful since I moved to Oklahoma, doing voiceovers. I still do tons of animation, tons of video games, and, have, all my corporate people, Audi and Visa, or not Visa anymore, but Sandals, all those stuff I still have. And the average person can do it. They don't have to move to a major city to have a major career. You just don't have to have that.
Yeah, it's a global economy now. It's crazy.
It sure is. I wanted to ask you, Victor, is, for those that are just entering the entertainment industry, especially creatives, who want to explore just a lot of areas like that you have, what advice would you give to them about balancing and, mastering different skill sets? Because you've referred several times to skill sets, and I like that because that's really what it is. There's very few inane born talents. A lot of it is skill sets that we got to learn.
If I was going to talk to anybody in the entertainment industry that's starting out, I would say this. Really focus on coming out of, like, set yourself up to make money so that you have the time that you need to pursue your art. And that, and I don't mean by getting a job that pays you well. I mean, okay, so I'm going to tell you what I think is the easiest way to make money. I think is the easiest way to make money. It does maybe take a little money or skill or technical skill, but if you don't have the technical skill and you have a little bit of money, here's the easiest way to make money. Okay, so come up with something that is worth like $5,000. Okay, something that's worth $5,000. And you come up with something that's worth $5,000. Find people who will bring you people who are interested in that thing enough to buy it, who would pay $5,000 for that thing. And that thing is something that you can do as an artist. And you do that thing, twice a month. Okay. And you make $10,000. Here's an example. If you are an amazing portrait painter, okay, you can paint portraits. Someone out there would pay $5,000 for a very good painting of themselves. Would you agree with that? Like someone in the world would pay $5,000 for a great
or their
portrait
dog
painting?
or their baby or their
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then so sales. So there are people who all they do is like, you have an offer that's called, well, that's a product, a portrait painting. You have an
Right.
offer, they find you people who will buy it for you, who would be interested in meeting and talking to you. So they use the internet to, scour the internet for potential leads through email or ads or whatever, however they do it. Like, that's what their job is, and that's all they do. So you come to them with an offer, and they find you people who will come in and who will come to a meeting. They find you leads, and then you talk to those leads, and you sell them that thing, and then they pay you $5,000 to do what you're great at. And you can do that with any discipline. Just come up with that thing. And I did it myself. I made a video game, and I found somebody who would pay me $100,000 to do it. Okay. Because I did exactly that. I made a thing that I thought was worth $100,000. And then I found somebody who had the money, through outreach. And then they gave me $100,000 to make this contest.
I love it.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
brilliant.
did you use the, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that that's absolutely brilliant. I mean, again, this ought to be this is going to be, here's the name of your biography when you're going to come out with that. It's called, dumbing it down for friends. Just, I love how you take these massively complex things and you're making them relatable, like reading the back of the box of cereal. And I love that we're in that society now, that we don't need to go to Yale to understand business. We don't
Right.
need to become
No.
an astrophysicist to understand that we don't live on a flat earth. There's
Yeah.
all these gatekeepers and all that stuff. I'm like you, it's just to hell with them, to down with them. It's like we get that information out. And I love the sector of the entertainment business that you're focusing on, all encompassing with video games and everything. And you're putting that information out there for a lot of people who are widely interested in being their true artist self. To me, I think that's absolutely amazing, Victor. I think it's great.
Yeah, I do too. It's freaking awesome.
Gotta
You
ask
know,
you about working. Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
I
Bob.
was just going to toss it to you because you were trying to get in before, so I
Oh,
was
no, that's
politely
good.
going
No,
to toss it over to you.
I gotta ask you about working with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Eddie Murphy, of course. Think people,
Working with Donald Schwarzenegger was awesome. I had multiple encounters with him where I freaked out, because so that movie, End of Days, was the first movie I was on that was a big movie. That was the first big
Such a
movie
great
I'd
movie.
ever done. And then and then so I freaked out talking to Arnold Schwarzenegger because, um I mean, you got to think, like, this guy, he is, remember when we were talking about Kevin Hart, like what he's doing, like
Mm-hmm.
that's what Arnold Schwarzenegger did. So he's an icon. He's like Mickey Mouse, but a person, you know? And
Right.
so the first time I was on set and I was walking next to him, I was walking to, like, I think hair and makeup, and then he was walking next to me, and it just so happened that our paces were the same. And so I was like next to Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then I looked at him, and then he looked at me, and he looked at me, and I was wearing a crazy wig because I had a character with a crazy wig, and he looked up at my hair, and he started laughing at my hair. And I was like, don't look at me like I'm crazy. I'm in your movie, man. And he goes, yeah, you're doing a good job. I think he's used to people freaking out around him. So.
That's so funny.
talk about somebody that got involved into business. I mean, the guy owns most of Santa Monica.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his real estate, you know, skills are just unbelievable.
Maybe, or maybe they're not. Maybe his skills of finding people whose real estate
True,
skills are
true.
unbelievable.
That's
Because
true.
that's the key for me. Like, there's so many things that I don't I want to I can't wait till I'm wealthy enough that I do not have to know anything. I could just hire trusted people who know everything.
Right.
I can't
Yeah,
wait till I'm
yeah.
just like the village idiot.
Well, Victor, I don't know if you know this or not, but you and I have something in common.
Legs?
Okay, well, we have Yeah, we have several things in common. One of which is you're in the Adventures of Pluto Nash, of course, and I believe wasn't Ron Underwood the director?
Yes.
He was my director when I was in City Slickers, and yeah, it was like his first film after whatever the worm that turns, whatever the hell that
Trimmers.
Tremors. Thank you so much. Otherwise known as the worm that turns. Yeah, that was like his next big project, which at the time we were making it, we thought it was just an utter piece of shit because it was just in the desert and we're all dying, and Jack Palance has pneumonia, so it's like I didn't think it was going to go anywhere, and then it ended up getting Palance best supporting actor. But yeah, so we have that in common. That working with Ron, of course, I'm sure he was much better by the time you worked with him. He was depending a lot on his surroundings, his assistant directors and stuff, and he had big names for I think for that early part of his career. Trying to work with Billy Crystal and uh, Palance was intimidating. We were all scared of him. I think he wanted that leverage, to use as his character. But I just thought that was cool. It's like, I have long quit becoming in front of the camera, as you can see by the animated figure that I have, because I just haven't been in front of the camera in a million years. So for some director to be commonplace between us, that's amazing, I think.
Yeah.
I think that yeah, I think Ron Underwood is awesome. I feel bad because I feel like Pluto Nash ruined his career.
Well,
Why
thank
did
God.
everybody hate that movie so much? I loved it. It was such a great,
Yeah,
funny
I
movie.
think it was too. Yeah, I don't see what that was. I thought I ruined his career. So,
You didn't see how people didn't like Pluto Nash? Really? Really? You can't see it?
But I loved it. It
I
was
mean, I
right
get
on
that
my
you loved
level.
it, but
I'm,
you can love something that you and understand why other people hate it.
yeah. I didn't think it was as
Being
bad as everybody gave
100%
it credit
real.
for.
Yeah, come
Yeah.
on. Yeah, come
I
on.
All
saw,
right.
I mean,
I
one of
just
my
have
favorite
shitty taste
movies,
in movies.
one of my absolute favorite movies, like a lot of people hate, uh, especially girls when I was younger. The Tron, the original Tron was my
Oh yeah.
favorite movie. Like I
Oh
have a
my
poster of
gosh.
that on my wall.
Who didn't?
But I have shown it to one or two ladies who are like, "What is this? Take me home now."
Wow, it got her that hot, huh? She wanted you to.
Yeah.
Also, actually, it hasn't really happened with Tron, but that did happen with Army of Darkness, where this is oh my gosh, this was in Montreal while shooting Pluto Nash. Because I was like big shit because I was like actor from out of town working in an Eddie Murphy movie, living in Montreal, for 6 months. So like, word got around and everybody was like, "This is great." So like, I was dating this model who's like way like out of my league normally, I would say, at the time. I mean, now I can pull anybody, but my wife stops me. But at the time, like there's this model, and then I took her to my house, my apartment that I had rented there, which looked like a James Bond apartment because it was like Warner Brothers money. And then uh and I took her and we were hanging out drinking and I turned on a movie. I was like, this is a great movie. And it was Army of Darkness. And like halfway through, she wanted to go home. She was like, this sucks. Take me home.
Oh, then
And
you knew. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if they don't like Army of Darkness, that should be the first test right there. That's a litmus test.
yeah,
I feel
I was fine. I was like, fine, go.
Of course. Yeah.
well, I feel your pain. When I was in high school, I had a girl that took me to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. That was an interesting experience. But I don't know if you've ever caught that, and it's a cult kind of thing where they
Yeah.
dress up and they act out the movie during the movie. So it's like a
Yes.
whole, yeah.
Yeah. I love it. What is not to love about that? And it's got Tim
Well,
Curry, period.
I hadn't seen it before, so it was like I was a virgin to the whole concept. I didn't have any reference, so I had
That's the best time.
PTSD for a week or two. But
Did Tim Curry awaken anything in you?
Yeah. I mean, it did me.
a little bit. Yeah.
I started wearing fancier shoes because of him.
He did such a great role.
Yeah, he
Such a
did.
great
Yeah,
role.
he looked better in stilettos than, my first wife.
Tim Curry has one of my favorite takes in a movie ever. Like he does like a improvised take in the movie. I think it's it's either the Phantom or the one where it's like Alec Baldwin, and it's like around that era when they were like doing these off superheroes, and it was
Oh yeah.
either was Tim Curry in the Phantom?
I don't remember him
I
in
don't remember him in the Phantom, but maybe I'm wrong. I could Google that quick.
It was either in the Phantom or some other movie that he was in with Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin was the star, and he like maybe had a scarf over his face and his eyebrows were above it, and I forgot what the name of that character was. But Tim Curry was in like some movie, and then he was like a villain.
Oh,
And at
you're thinking of The Shadow.
yes, The Shadow.
The
Okay,
Shadow.
so
Yeah, yeah.
Tim Curry's in The
Yeah.
Shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so in The Shadow, at one point, Tim Curry is like running away like as a villain, and somebody corners him, and then he he like he's like being cornered, like freaking out, and then he drools out of his mouth, and it was obviously not planned, but then he like looks down at his drool and looks up at the person chasing him and is like, look at me, I'm pathetic, and doesn't look like I'm pathetic, and then like let me go, and he just like goes away. And that's like in the movie, and it's so funny, and it's Tim Curry's great. Oh my god, it's so funny.
That is
Yeah.
so
So
funny.
was it Eddie Murphy as friendly to you as Arnold Schwarzenegger was, or
Yeah, Eddie Murphy was super friendly. He sent I don't know if he sent them, but his like some of his people who worked with him, like his stunt coordinator, they went out and watched me do stand up. So before they went out and
cool.
watched me do stand up, Eddie Murphy was very cordial with me, nothing special. But when they went out and watched me do stand up, and then they reported back that I was funny, then Eddie Murphy like opened up and was so nice. Except
Wow.
he had very Eddie Murphy advice, because this is like me near the beginning of my career, and I'm in an Eddie Murphy movie, and Eddie Murphy's like, "Hey man, I heard that you were pretty funny," and I was like, "Oh, really? Awesome!" And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, I'll tell you what. When I started stand up, thing that really changed my career, HBO special. You should do an HBO special." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah,
a
what a
great
great
idea.
idea, Eddie Murphy."
Thank you. I would never have thought of that. Yeah. That's
I should
awesome.
just do one.
Can
Awesome.
you open some doors?
Yeah, all the
Sometimes
way.
it's not what you know.
True.
You know, speaking of comedy, when did you realize that you had a knack for being funny?
um, I have always been funny. I'm born a black kid with albinism. I had to be funny when I was young. I started
enough.
out funny. I've always had a razor sharp tongue, so that I could dismantle anybody, but in high school, so I didn't get into fights.
Nice, nice.
That's
So you
cool.
popped out and just started slinging words with the doc, huh?
Right.
Oh yeah, I hold my tongue so much in real life.
Right, right. Well, Victor, stand-up comedy has drastically changed. When I was out in LA and seeing Jay Leno doing stand-up, all the old crew, it has changed over the years. So how do you see your comedic style like evolving with today's audience? Because today everyone wants kind of an all-encompassing, kind of entertainment venue. But what's been your strategy for staying fresh? Like you were saying, like Kevin Hart earlier, how do you finding yourself staying fresh in that competitive space there?
Good question.
I feel like I am. What is staying fresh?
Like it just
Relevant?
I'm trying to skip around, but the cancel culture of just
Yeah.
we couldn't have a Don Rickles today. We couldn't have Joan Rivers today. And I remember there's been a lot of comedians that have people sign forms before their show saying that if you're going to be offended, then don't go to my show. If you're going to go on social media and diss me, don't be in the room. And it's just I'm finding it hard that for someone to there's no more George Carlins or Eddie Murphys that are or Richard Parrs that are just putting stuff out there and letting it be there. Let comedy be comedy, and they're doctoring it.
I absolutely beg to differ with you 1,000%.
Good. Okay.
Number one, there are Don Rickles out there. Don Rickles was of an era.
Right.
There's people who are still doing the Don Rickles thing, and doing it really well. Mark Norman is one of them.
Okay.
Mark Norman is a guy. I mean, he's very different. He's very different than I think a lot of comics who are a lot of comics are just are say are trying to say that, you know, they're going to be protected by the idea that, you know, comedy is an art, and I'm saying something, so comedy is an art, so that protects me uh from your evaluation of my work. And I think that Mark Norman is one of those guys where he's like sewing up the holes. Like he's talking about uh risque subject matter, but he's talking about it in such a way where I feel like is really he's really it's full featured. You're not mistaking what he's talking about. I think that cancel culture, I think that cancel culture is one of the things that runs through it is that um a lot of comics who are against cancel culture are and well, I'm against cancel culture in general too because it's just like stupid. But
Mhm.
a lot
It
of
is.
comics who are against cancel culture but are saying that, you know, I want to joke about X, Y, or Z. And as a comic, you got to understand that it's a joke. No, that's not good enough. I think that the problem really is comedians who don't tell their jokes good enough so people understand them correctly. Your
Yeah,
job as a comedian is to communicate with your audience. I think you can talk about any subject you want,
I
anything,
agree. So
but
I agree
make
with
it a
that.
good joke, make it a good journey. And if people are mad at you because you're like, if you're like a person who wants to do a joke about anything. Let's say you wanted to do a joke about uh I don't want to pick anything out of the I don't
Right.
pick out of anything because I want to get my point across. If you're okay, let's say you're going to do a joke about black people, okay? Because I'm a black person, so
Okay.
I can use that as an example.
Right,
If
right,
you
right.
want to do a joke about black people, and if you want to do a joke about black people and you do that joke and black people are offended and then you're like, hey, don't be offended, I'm a comedian, that's you're not a good comedian.
I
You should
agree.
do jokes, you should do jokes that people get. If you can't do jokes that people get, then that's on you as a comedian.
I
Yeah.
That's what I mean. And when I go out, you know, because I love comedy, but it's just maybe it's because I'm old. It's just I very rarely see anyone that stands up with any of those guys that I grew up with. That are they don't apologize for anything. Richard Pryor never apologized for anything that he said. He just said it. He did it.
Hey,
And
well,
whether he walked out of the theater, who cares?
watch some of the Comedy Central roasts. Those are
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but again, that's I think that's formulaic. Yeah, again, it's like reality television. It's like
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but it's good. Where would you think of someone like Pryor or Carlin or Rickles who were, just going everywhere every night of the week and doing their set and just
You know,
known
we
for their stuff, just known that
yeah.
either you can take the heat or you can't. Yeah, when I was in college, a group of us, we wanted to be insulted by Rickles so bad. We saved money up and drove to Vegas in the middle of the night so that we could make his show the next night. And, we got the third row and we were in heaven when he insulted each of us. I mean, we couldn't, we just loved it. We wanted to be
Right, but
insulted.
that was then, this is now. The world is
Right.
evolving. Sure,
Yeah,
comedy, absolutely, comedy evolves as the world evolves.
that's true. That's
Like
probably why
Absolutely.
my time is short anyway, because I'm not finding comedy as much as I used to. But your question is great. Or your answer is great. I really appreciate that.
yeah, I love comedy. I love comedy. I love comedy of all kinds. I love great I love great comedy about risque subjects. If it's
Mhm.
smart, I love it.
Well, you found Hannibal Buress, right? I
Oh,
mean
I didn't
that
find him. I mean,
well
he
through awkward
he had a
comedy.
whole life before he met
Yeah,
me.
Oh,
but I mean
wow.
that kind of helped launch his career.
You didn't grow
I
him in
did
Um,
an aquarium?
I did cast him in his first special, I believe, which
There
is
you go.
awkward comedy show.
yeah.
Because we were all friends. This funny thing is, the awkward comedy show came about because so Comedy Central, they told me to submit for a half hour special, and then I did submit for a half hour special, and they were like, "Nah, we don't want to do that." And then I was like, "What? You told me to submit." And then so I was like, "I'm gonna make my own special." So then I just gathered up all my friends who were Hannibal Buress, Eric Andre, Baron Vaughn, Marina Franklin, And then I was like, what can I do now? Like, what can I do now that will, uh, you know, bring us all together? So I created the Awkward Comedy Show because we all happen to be, uh, you know, funny, weird black guys. And so that became the Awkward Comedy Show.
That's funny.
Is that a Michigan hat you're wearing, by the way?
Yes, my wife is from Michigan, and the last time I went
Okay.
there, I picked up a hat.
Gotcha. Oh, we've got a cabin up in northern Michigan, so I was just wondering.
Oh, okay, cool.
By Mackinac Island, way up north.
You know, Victor, not that you're too far away from my age, but I'm starting to look at things in terms of legacy and vision. And when you look at your body of work and your journey so far, what legacy do you hope to leave behind in the entertainment world?
In the entertainment world?
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of like, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind with your work? I guess maybe entertainment world's not the greatest coin phrase, but you know what I'm trying to say, right?
Well, in whatever I'm doing, I want to create masterpieces. This is my vision. I just want to create things that are just undeniably amazing. And then when people see them or hear about them, they're like, wow, that is cool, was cool, whatever. And so, and I feel like I'm doing that. Like, I feel like creating like a high score competition all around the world. That's awesome. That's a cool thing. WikiListen, I think, is like a really good, fun, weird idea. Like
Mhm.
I like to make just cool things. And so like if I can make something, I just want to make it of note.
Do you consider yourself an artist first, or what do you consider yourself first?
Yeah, artist 100% first.
That's what I heard too. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I screwed up this first part of our podcast with technical issues, but this has been as fun as I could have envisioned and hoped. You really kind of set the bar for diversification and just applying yourself. And one thing that is really cool about you is you look around, you analyze, and then you target. And so your path is filled with purpose rather than chance. Does that make sense?
Well
Yes.
said. Well said.
Yes, I think it reminds me of preparation makes luck.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
1000%.
Well, gentlemen, anything that we can add before we let Victor go? I really appreciate your time today, Victor. It's been great.
Oh, thanks for coming on. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a pleasure to talk with you, Victor.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks for having me.
You're a very entertaining individual.
Right on. Let's, make out.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
The
Let's
chat
go.
room, the chat
Let's
room is
do it.
open.
The
Okay.
compliments will do it every time.
We talked about a lot of your future.
If your wife allows.
Oh, okay, good answer.
Anything I can push real quick before we let you go? What's your next thing coming up? Next project?
My next project, I have an off-Broadway show called the NYC Talent Show that's going to be at Second City, but that's in New York. If you want, everybody go play High Score Game Arcade. highscoregamearcade.com. It's free. You can win if you don't suck at video games. Or, sometimes you'll win even if you do. So go play.
Fair enough. Victor, it's been great, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's
Thanks
another
for having me.
episode. All right. You guys have a great day.